Hey guys, Zoroth here. So with the Steam Winter Sale starting right now, I thought it'd be a good time to maybe give people, advice for some of the games that you could be looking at for this Christmas. These games are generally speaking, as a way of just, treating yourself. 2020 has been a rough year and, sometimes we just need to play some sort of games to just relax and keep our mind off of things. So I've compiled a list of 13 different games that I would personally recommend that you really give a good look and maybe try either by yourself or with friends. These games are currently very discounted, which is also the reason why I selected them and telling you they're like really good bargains for their price basically. Some of these games will be on the older side. There might be like past reiterations of these games in the series or something, but I've personally played them and I still love playing them and I would recommend you try them all the same. And one last thing before we start is just that these games are I would consider to be less obvious choices. So games like Among Us or Phasmophobia, these games won't be included in the list even though they are amazing and recommended games. It's just that I don't really want to make suggestions that are completely and blatantly obvious. First game I would recommend is Tabletop Simulator. So what Tabletop Simulator is, it's really just a sandbox simulator where people can freely craft and create multiple types of games on tabletop. So the reason I suggested tabletop sim is as of right now, obviously a lot of people are locked down, a lot of stores are closed, and tabletop simulator really offers you the freedom to play a lot of things that usually you might need to meet up with friends in order to play. So for example, there's a lot of board games. There's a lot of card games like Magic the Gathering and other similar card games. There's like obviously the traditional poker and all of that. There's also you can play if you find the right mods for it, like D&D campaigns. You can craft these on tabletop sim. There's just like an infinite possibility of these. And the best thing about it is that most of these are created by other people on the Steam Workshop, and therefore they're mostly actually free. So this is like a one-time investment for you and your friends to just play like a bunch of different stuff on tabletop sim. The controls are a little bit complicated at first, but once you get used to it, you're more than ready to go. So the second game I would recommend is Resident Evil 7. So Resident Evil 7 is a more modern iteration of the Resident Evil series, just right before the remastered versions of Resident Evil 2 and 3. So Resident Evil 7 is based on you looking for your wife in a house filled with a quite strange family. And the reason I specifically recommend this one is because it gives you a first person view when playing the game. And I feel like that is actually crucial in creating that atmosphere, that's like survival horror atmosphere where you're trying to survive, you're facing these unknown fears. And I personally had so much fun playing this game and I felt the atmosphere, the story, just everything in this game was just top notch. And for this price point, it's absolutely a bargain. For those of you not interested in the horror genre, my next suggestion might be better for you. It's called My Time at Portia. My Time at Portia is basically similar to a farming sim such as Stardew Valley, which you might have heard of, and it does have a main focus on crafting instead of farming. So you are a craftsman, you create a lot of projects for people around the village slash city of Portia. And I just really liked it for its very comforting colors and its very vibrant population. So similar to Stardew Valley and other similar games, you have a village with constant events with different people, their different quests, requests, and their own life basically. And it's just a very soothing and calming game. There are some aspects of PvE where you go kind of treasure hunting and digging through mines and stuff, but it's not exceptionally PvE focused or fighting focused. In fact, it's just a very peaceful crafting simulator, but I do enjoy the relaxation that it gives you. So I do encourage you to check it out. The next title that I would recommend is called Tyranny. So Tyranny is an RPG game made by the creators of Pillars of Eternity, which is quite a popular RPG series currently. So basically what you expect from Pillars of Eternity, you can also expect from Tyranny. same graphics, similar playstyle where you can pause, do real life combat. And the main difference that I would say of Pillars of Eternity is that Tyranny has a more focus where you're not really a hero saving the land. You're more like you're sent here to take command of an army basically. You've been tasked to rule this province, and how you rule it has severe consequences both in terms of your storyline but also in terms of your ending, and how you interact with the people you pick up along your journey will also influence your experience. I think this game has really good feelings of your consequences really matter, and I do encourage you guys just to try it and see what kind of endings that you would get, because I would be very interested in that. The next game I strongly recommend, but there does come with a disclaimer that it is on the mature side of things, so buyers beware, is called The Stick of Truth and is based on the South Park series, which is a very popular cartoon TV show. The premise is just it's actually hilarious and ingenious. It's basically a bunch of kids playing mock war. Like imagine them playing something similar to the Lord of the Rings in their town. And you are this new kid in town who they've invited to play with this game with them. And you really see the absolute like hilarious interactions between the characters yourself and the world around you. It's stupid, it's hilarious, it's very stereotypically cliche in some points, and it's basically a turn-based RPG combat system. But just the amount of sheer hilarious jokes you see in there, and just the experience of being a kid playing in town, like just like pretending, some guy within a cardboard box is in full steel armor, like that kind of childhood fantasy. It really brings it to life in this game, and that's why I would strongly encourage it. So the next title I would suggest is Call of Cthulhu. So Call of Cthulhu is a first-person, you could say detective, horror, thriller kind of game where you are a man trying to find what happened to a terrible tragedy that happened to a certain family within the island. And your discoveries will soon give you an idea that there's a cult going on the island, and you try to uncover the secrets and what exactly they're looking for. So Call of Cthulhu, I think, is one of the best games for anyone who wants to step into the Cthulhu or Lovecraftian genre. It has pretty nice graphics for its time, and the first person, again, perspective really helps bring the I wouldn't say it's called horror, but it's more like the unsettling aspect of what the island is doing, and the atmosphere that it creates I think is wonderful. So I do it for those people who are more into like detective games or trying to find out mysteries. I think this is the game for you. Another quite old title that I'm strongly recommending here is Elder Scrolls Oblivion. So for those who don't know, Elder Scrolls Oblivion is the, you can say, prequel to Elder Scrolls Skyrim, which is an extremely popular and well-deserved RPG game. Elder Scrolls Oblivion is based on a time period that is quite a bit before the events of Skyrim, and it's based in Tamriel, which is the center province of the continent. And this package contains all the DLC that includes both the expansions of Knights of the Nine and Shivering Isles. And the reason I'm recommending this, obviously not for the graphics as you guys can see, is just because the questing and the stories behind it are just so rich and well written that I really just recommend people to try it. And if you can really overlook the graphics, which honestly can be solved with mods nowadays. If you install the right mods, I'm sure you can make this game look quite nice, actually. It's just you understand that there's such a rich story behind it that it's actually fascinating. And Shivering Isles, by far, is probably one of my favorite expansions of all time. Like, just being able to visit that place and seeing the interpretation that was used to build it is absolutely fascinating. Going back to some more scary vibes in games, one of the games I would recommend is Dead by Daylight. So Dead by Daylight is a multiplayer survival game where you can play either as one of four survivors or the killer in a map. And each round basically involves the survivors trying to escape the killer, and by activating generators across the map, be able to escape from the killer's clutches. The killer obviously is trying to kill everybody, and it's basically a very adrenaline high cat and mouse game where you're constantly being hunted, and there's this like sensor basically that the closer you get to a killer, you hear this like thump thump heartbeat sound, and that really makes this game mode like extremely intense. And there's like so much customization you can add through like perks and skills that it's actually a really good game. You can actually have a good experience playing this game for single player as well as multiplayer if you're survivors. So I do encourage you to check it out. Just do keep in mind that a lot of things, especially killers, are mostly locked behind DLCs. So it's this game, the price point you see here is the base game, and there might be some purchases that you might need to make further down the line. Continuing with our little horror journey is 7 Days to Die. So 7 Days to Die is still an early access game. It is currently a sandbox zombie survival game. And it's actually, for me, one of my favorite games to play in terms of sandbox because it's not restrictive at all. You can build literally whatever you want. You can build a base of your dreams. You can build an underground bunker. You can build basically whatever the hell you want. And there's just enough survivability in there between like food, water, heat, cold, and zombies, obviously, that you can have a very enjoyable but challenging experience. This game is a lot better with multiplayer, but you can play it with a solo experience for a period of time. You can also customize a lot of things in your game mode, including difficulty, number of zombies, etc., etc. And the highlight of it is what they call the Blood Moon, which, as the name states, comes every 7 days. So Blood Moon basically means just that you get hordes. And I think fighting these hordes is actually by far the funnest part of this entire series. Next title is actually also quite old, and that's called Payday 2. So Payday 2 is a first-person FPS thief robber simulator, basically. And the story goes that you are part of a notorious gang and you constantly go on multiplayer to play heists with other people. You can play this game as single player. However, the single player experience I would say is far less entertaining than it is with multiplayer, and it is recommended that you probably play with friends in order to make it more interesting. So the game usually revolves around different heists. Heists usually and most likely involves stealing money. So you probably are breaking into banks, breaking into other areas to just grab a bunch of money and go off. These monies are actually converted into things where you can buy gear. So for example, you can use it to buy guns, you can use it to buy outfits, you can use it to buy, and you can use it to upgrade your character's perk points to make your guy do special things. So for example, in the heist, this guy can be in charge of drilling. He's in charge of getting through doors. This guy's in charge of just shooting people. This guy might be in charge of cameras, etc., etc. So there's like a lot of replayability in terms of the customization options you have available for the characters, which I think is actually really cool. And obviously the outfits are really cool too. But this game I would recommend only if you are playing with other people and preferably ones that you know. And lastly, just to let you know, this game does have a ridiculous amount of DLC, both in terms of the mission packs, which obviously give you missions, different heists you can do, and also the fact that you can buy DLC to unlock new characters, new weapons, new masks, and other things. But I think that as a start point for this game, just to dip your feet in, see if you like the game, I think this price point is absolutely perfect. So after all the running away from killers, robbing banks, and everything in between, we're going to look to another game that's a little bit more on the relaxing side, and that's called Raft. So Raft is also a early access game, and it's actually quite popular, so some of you might have already heard about it. So Raft is basically, as the name says, you start on a raft, and you're in the middle of the ocean. You don't know what happens. I guess like some sort of apocalypse basically happened, and basically the whole world is now submerged in water. And you and a number of your friends can play this game together and survive on the raft. So it can include things such as fishing for food, gathering resources to build enlarge your raft until maybe it looks like a ship, or just customizing other things in order to survive. You'll then get to see islands, wreckages of other people's rafts, and you can just start looting stuff. I would say entertaining multiplayer survival experience. For me personally, I actually like to play this game single player. And what I like to do, I like to actually play this game on peaceful mode. So in this game, you have certain predators, namely a shark, that constantly comes and tries to bite off your boat. And if you fall into the water, the shark will come and try and eat you. Like Jaws, basically. However, for me personally, I enjoy playing this game on peaceful, where the shark doesn't really attack you. And the reason I'm doing this is because I just want to play a game where I'm alone in the middle of the ocean and just the water sounds there. It's like those like ASMR things where it's just really calming. I can choose where to go with my boat. I do a leisurely lifestyle there, and it's just like a very relaxing experience. So I do encourage you guys to check it out. And finally, a very old but very good classic that's still very popular today is Left 4 Dead 2. And Left 4 Dead 2 is a co-op first-person shooter survival game that basically puts you in point A, and you, generally speaking in terms of campaign mode, have to fight your way across to the other side and survive. And you can play up to with 4 people, focused on the gunplay, surviving hordes and hordes and hordes of zombies, and just hopefully surviving and making it to the end. There is a multiplayer aspect of it where you can play lobbies in which some of the other people on the opposing team can play as certain special types of monsters that will try and hinder the survivors and potentially kill them before they reach the objective. And the reason I'm suggesting this is just that it's still to me one of the best in terms of just getting that action horde survival and feel the danger of there is no camping, there is no base building, you're just constantly on the move, you're trying to survive the zombie apocalypse. The other reason I'm suggesting this is because the creators of the game are already in the process of making and trialing their new game called Back 4 Blood that I think is really nice. And I think it's just worth visiting this game as an old example to see, basically have a glimpse of what you're going to be expecting in the new game. Though for this game, I do suggest that playing with friends is probably the best bet. You can play this game as single player, but the AI is not exactly the brightest, so you will struggle to find an entertaining experience from the game. Alright guys, so that's all the games I have to recommend for today. I hope at least one of them catches your eye. And if you end up buying any of these to try out, just let me know in the comments below how you felt about the game and whether you thought the game was worth the experience or not. Regardless, I hope you guys have a wonderful time celebrating Christmas. If you can spend it with your family, wonderful. If you can't due to this pandemic, I feel for you, and we can look forward to next year where you can spend it with your family once more. Anyhow guys, if you like this video, I hope you can like and subscribe. It will mean a lot to me, and I will see you guys next time.